All right, let's dive into something kind of fun today. Leather weekender bags. And luckily for us, our source today is a company that seems to be all about that. They've got a whole section on leather gym bags on their website.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to be hanging out today. And one thing that jumped out at me right away, every single bag is labeled as a weekender. Is that just a fancy way of saying travel bag, or is there something more to it?
You hit on a good point. Weekender really means something specific when you're talking about luggage. It's kind of like bigger than your everyday bag, but not as big as a suitcase you'd check at the airport.
Oh, so like the perfect size for a quick getaway.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, looking at the prices here, they range from about $219 to $379, and everything's on sale. So are we talking impulse buy territory, or is this pretty typical for this kind of company?
Well, sales are definitely common in this market, especially for things people are going to use for a long time. Good leather goods don't come cheap.
Yeah.
But whether these specific discounts are anything special, it's hard to say without knowing their usual prices.
True. Now, speaking of knowing what's good, I'm seeing a bunch of these bags have a ton of reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Way more than I was expecting.
People love to share what they think, especially for stuff that looks good and is useful, too.
Yeah. And the two with the most reviews are really catching my eye. First up is the Dagny Weekender. It's a large bag. On sale for $299. Originally $349. And it's got 24 reviews. Then there's the Endre Weekender. It's a vintage style, going for $249, down from $299. And it's got 18 reviews. So those are some impressive numbers. What do you think it is about these two that's got everyone talking?
Well, it's tough to say for sure without actually reading the reviews, but those numbers definitely make you think these bags are doing something right. The Dagny.
Yeah.
Since it's labeled as large, maybe it's popular with people who want to pack a lot. Maybe someone who travels a bunch and needs a bag that can handle it.
Yeah. Large can be kind of vague. Are we talking, you could pack for like a whole week in this thing, or more like a long weekend plus some extra space for whatever you pick up along the way?
It's hard to say without knowing the exact size. But since it's supposed to be a weekender, I'm thinking probably more like the second one. These bags are really made for those shorter trips. So they probably want to be roomy, but not too bulky.
Right. Makes sense. Now, the Endre being a vintage style, that's kind of interesting to me. What kind of things usually say vintage when you're talking about bags?
Oh, that's easy. You're talking about things like leather that looks a little worn, maybe some visible stitching, and hardware with an antique-y finish.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's all about giving it a sense of history.
Like it's been around the block.
Exactly. Which can be really appealing these days.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. Now, moving on from the popularity contest here, there are a couple other bags that caught my eye, and their names are really doing a lot of the talking. First up, the Bjarke Weekender. They make a big deal about it being handcrafted. Does that usually mean you're actually getting something different, like something you can really see and feel? Or is that more of a behind-the-scenes kind of thing?
That's a great question. Handcrafted can be kind of tricky, because it often makes you think it's going to be higher quality and last longer. And it might, but it really depends on who made it and what they made it with. One thing's for sure, though. Handcrafted things tend to have their own look. You're more likely to see little imperfections and variations, which kind of give it personality.
Yeah, like the difference between something mass-produced and something one-of-a-kind.
Exactly.
Right.
And for a lot of people, that uniqueness is a big selling point.
Totally. Okay, on to another interesting name, the Wainwright Weekender. And they only give us one word to describe it, round, so I gotta ask, how weird is a round weekender bag?
It's definitely not your typical weekender. Usually when you picture a weekender bag, you think rectangular. Or maybe duffel-shaped, something like the Wainwright. It's going to stand out.
It's definitely going to turn heads, but how does that even work when you're trying to pack? Are we talking serious Tetris skills here?
That's a good question. Round bags can be a little trickier to pack than your usual square or rectangular ones. They're great for soft stuff, like clothes that don't wrinkle easy, or maybe a travel pillow. But if you like to pack things nice and neat, it might not be the best choice.
Yeah, probably not.
I bet the Wainwright still has its fans, though. People who really care about having a unique look. It could also be good for specific stuff, like camera gear or a yoga mat.
That makes sense. It's like choosing the right tool for the job. Speaking of which, we haven't really talked about the fact that this whole section is called leather gym bags, but none of these descriptions actually mention anything specific to the gym. No shoe compartments, no separate spots for sweaty clothes, nothing.
It's interesting they did that. It makes you think about how Labels are sometimes more about marketing than what the product's actually for. I mean, you could definitely use these bags for the gym, but calling them weekenders probably helps them appeal to more people. After all, not everyone who takes weekend trips goes to the gym.
Very true. Maybe you're going to a yoga retreat or a conference or just a stylish getaway.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that you shouldn't get too hung up on labels.
I like that.
The best bag for you, whether it's for the gym or a weekend trip, is the one that fits your needs and your style.
Couldn't agree more. So, to wrap up our leather weekender deep dive, it seems like size matters. Vintage usually means specific design choices. Handcrafted suggests a personal touch. And sometimes a name like round really does say it all. Plus, it never hurts to think beyond the label to find what you're really looking for.
Well said.
So, for those of you listening, if you were browsing this company's website right now, what would make you choose one of these leather weekender bags over the others? Would it be the reviews, the appeal of something handcrafted, maybe a good sale, or how about a unique shape? The choice is yours.